Yo, 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 what up, everybody? Daryl got a new costume and he changed his name to Andy.
What's up?
No, Daryl's out crushing stuff, bringing stuff back to the campfire. It's your boy, Mike Gomes. This is my business partner, Andrew Maynard. Welcome to Wholesale Hardknocks. If these episodes have been giving you guys any value, please like the channel, subscribe to both me and Daryl's channel. Like this video and subscribe to both me and Daryl's channel. But let's get this thing rocking. Today, we're going to go over partnerships. That's why I brought my business partner on. So partnerships are interesting, right? Like I've had great partnerships. I've had some partnerships that just didn't make any sense. And it's important to get somebody on your team that is like a freaking badass. Like I got Andrew over here. So Andrew, what up, dog?
What's going on, Mike? How are you?
I'm just crushing life, bro. Just got back from a seller appointment. Seller told us that it needed about $80,000 worth of rehab. So here's what happened, right? We go on the appointment. Seller was like, before we go on the appointment, seller was like, yeah, it's an $80,000 rehab. He's a contractor. So kind of taking his word for it, even though we know that sellers are lying about rehab costs all the time. Go on the appointment. It literally needs probably 180. The reason why I kind of thought it was 80 is because he bought the property 3 years ago. And when he bought it, the Zillow listing was still up with all the pictures and everything. I'm like, dang, this is like a cosmetic type of rehab. It shouldn't be that much. And then I get there. He bought it 3 years ago and didn't touch it. Bro, floors are all wood. Dude, it was crazy. So this is why it's important. If you guys are watching and you guys are locking up deals and everything, make sure you have an inspection period in your contract. That way, before you go out to the property, because if you don't, then you're going to lose your earnest money deposit. And that's actually happened to us before. We learned the hard way.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of an important thing to kind of, if you want to break into the partnership conversation, is you got to have a tolerance for loss, as a partnership together. I mean, we're going to win a lot, but you got to understand that you're going to also lose. So you got to have kind of a similar risk tolerance. Like you just told me that story, I'm not worried when you go and negotiate contracts because I know that's the way that you think. And that's a big part of this is I trust the way that your mind works. So much so that I can release all of that to you.
That's facts. Likewise. So let's go over that. What is your position in our business? What exactly do you do?
Yeah. So if we refer back to, I'm sure you've talked about this before. If we refer back to that book, Rocket Fuel, I'm the integrator side of that integrator visionary partnership. Obviously, you being the visionary side of things. So, my job is to sit back and think about, the whole business problem and how do we find ways to remove as much friction in the, the acquisition process, the lead generation process. How do we scale the business in a way that is affordable? How do we reduce our cost per acquisition down as low as possible? How do we create some predictability? In the end, we're trying to build a business that scales. We're trying to build something that is repeatable. I mean, all these really, when it all comes down to it, most businesses are very much the same. You got to generate some leads. You got to curate those leads. You got to pass them off to folks who are professionals in your business that you go ahead and help the lead mature. And you got to have killers who go and smash it. That whole system needs someone to oversee it. You need people who can come in at different times and intervene whenever is needed. And the way we like to refer to it, you and I is, you're the artist, I'm the scientist. Sometimes you got to fly in there and you got to go in there and, teach people how to talk. Other times I had to go in there and I got to tell them, you got to call more.
I love that. That's amazing. So here's what Andrew's talking about. Andrew's talking about integrative versus visionary. There's like two different sides of head of businesses. And sometimes they could just be one person. Like we were just talking to our marketer, right? And he's a freaking badass business owner, and he's kind of both. He's one of those weird people that are like both, that can crush the integrator side, knows all the analytics, can do all the implementation and everything like that. But then he's also really good at sales and getting into the weeds and talking to people and being the face and everything, right? Like you can be both. But here's what it is. There's one side that's visionary, and that's the person going out like in a wholesale business. That's the person going out on appointments. That's the person talking to the sales team and like getting everybody riled up and all this stuff. That's the person that like Andrew just said, goes out and gets contracts and runs wild and does all that stuff. And the integrator, to that point up here, is the guy that's in the background that is like, okay, yeah, go do your thing, go on the football field and play, because I know I've set my systems up right and everything, and I know that you're a badass and you're gonna run the systems the way that I kind of wanted it to run. So it's very similar to like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Okay, let's think about this, right? Like, look at Bill Belichick. Now that he lost Tom Brady, he stinks. The Patriots freaking.
Yeah.
So they were a really good integrator, visionary thing that you could look at for a model, right? Like, Bill was the guy, the systems guy in the background that made sure everybody was at meetings on time, that the defense was running the way that it was supposed to run, that the offense was running the way that it was supposed to run, and everything was like on point. Everybody was like soldiers, right? Tom Brady, on the other hand, was the face. He was the guy going out talking to the media and talking to the team and being the personable guy and everything, and being the leader that people needed to see, like, to lead, even though Bill is a freaking asshole, in my opinion. Okay. All the people probably hate Bill because he's an asshole, right?
Yeah.
But it was very well played out because Brady was the complete opposite, and everybody loved Brady. So all Bill's systems made so much sense because he's a freaking genius. But that's cool. It can make sense. It can be genius. But if you don't have somebody that like everybody looks to as a leader in the face that they want to follow and everything like that, it's hard for something to be successful. That's why you've seen Bill's systems not work, because he does not have somebody right now like Tom Brady that can be the face, that can like have everybody looked up to on the team, right? So
trust is a huge part of it, right? Like, I love the analogy, because one of the reasons why it's not working with what Bill Belichick right now, or without Brady there, is because people trusted Brady. Like, the team trusted him. He said, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, and we're going to win the fucking game. And that's just how it went. So you're right. I mean, that's a very apt analogy, because the results speak for themselves. I mean, look at them right now. They're kind of trash. I hate to say it. Yeah, being a a fan who loves it, they're not doing very good right now.
Legit. So can you talk about that? Imagine being in Bill's shoes right now.
No, it'd be horrifying. So I mean, we've seen it, because we identify when the sickness comes up, and then we figure out how to fix it. Like, we had a few weeks ago, we had an incident where we were noticing the number of let's just talk very broadly first, guys. A funnel, right? You have your leads coming in. So how many people you're marketing to, how many of those people respond to your marketing, how many people out of the people who respond who are actually someone that you can convert, and then how many people you convert and how many people you close. So like 5 separate levels, right? We noticed a sickness down here. We're like, why don't we have enough things? Why don't we have enough balls to shoot right now? This doesn't make any sense. We started going up a few layers and started to realize, oh, it's because we're having a call volume issue up above. We're having what would you call it? Basically, like some of our leads were going stale up above. And when I found that, we had to then turn around to the team and say, we've observed something. We need to, go ahead and establish some new changes to the way that we operate to fix these problems. And what did we see? When I tried to, when I went in and I kind of laid it down and said, this is what needs to happen, it kind of happened. But you needed to come in and say, no, we've thought this through. There's a reason for this. You guys, I brought you on the team to follow through with what we say. And after that, they followed through. So had you not been there to kind of come in and say, look, we got some guidance, we got to follow it, I probably would have been stuck in that same freaking situation.
That's crazy. I just broke down why the Patriots freaking stink.
Yeah.
Because of that specific reason. Because when there's things going on in their departments, they don't have a leader to look to. Even though Bill's a genius and he probably sees all these things. He probably has a whiteboard of all the freaking diseases that are going on in the business, and he's very smart with it, but he doesn't have somebody that can go do the thing and get it done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what's so important. And it's so important from a visionary standpoint to have the opposite. right? Because there's great quarterbacks out there. There's great leaders. There's great people that really do this, right? Look at actually Brady's in the situation right now. I know
I was
we
gonna
didn't mean to
say,
make
yeah.
this about football,
Yeah.
but Brady's in the situation right now. He's a really good leader. He's a really good quarterback, but he does not have the coach left. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So he doesn't have that implementer. And it's very interesting. But once you combine those two, boom, you see a freaking dynasty like you see in the Patriots. So that's what makes a business freaking prosper. If you go back and look at any businesses like Disney, they had great partnerships, right? Like
Mhm.
all these crazy businesses have people that that complement each other really well. And that's really what finding a partner is all about, is complementing each other in a right manner.
I was going to say, just think about, maybe an easy way to think about this. Just think about all the top companies, right? You think about Apple. Who do you
Mhm.
think about? The CEO, Tim Cook, right? You think about Steve Jobs, but the CEO is just one of several people at C level, right? There's a CFO, there's a COO, there's a CTO, there's a CIO, there's several folks in there. It's a whole basically committee. Now there's one guy who says, "All right, now this is what we do." Right? This is how we do it. But they're all sitting at that top level, steering the whole organization. Now, in a smaller company, obviously, we don't need 8 different people heading 8 different departments. Mike and I, in any partnership, right, at this scale, you guys absorb the majority of those roles into your day to day, right? So I
Mhm.
do a lot of the technology evaluations. I do a lot of the operational type stuff. Mike's out there making the executive decisions about what direction we're going to take the business. What's our next venture? Are we going to take a gamble here with a contract, right? That's all stuff that falls into his court. So CRO, CEO, type of, CCO type of, duties. So if you think of it like that, there isn't any multi-billion-dollar corporate, even Elon Musk's companies, right? He's still just one man. That man makes decisions based on the information he receives from everyone who supports him and his decision making. Right. Without that, he wouldn't be able to. That's why he fires people so often, because he gets disappointed with them. But he's also a kingmaker, right? That guy is making careers like you wouldn't understand. I mean, fortunes are being made in Elon's wake that you don't even realize.
Yeah,
So,
100%. And all these big businesses, there's people that are just in the backgrounds that are the reason why the thing's going. Like, I promise, dude, we would not even be close to where we're at if it was not for me finding Andrew.
I appreciate that.
Like 100%. Andrew has implemented everything to allow me to go out and do the things that I need to do in order for our business to prosper. And that would have never happened. And it showed when I did not have a partner, or when I had partners that didn't make sense for who I was as a person.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
exactly. Yeah, I
there
went through
wasn't.
the same thing.
I've had
Yeah.
partnerships before. Yeah, we can
Mhm.
talk about that. Let's talk about really quick how we met. But before we do that, I've had partnerships before
Yep.
where we were just two of the same people and we weren't complementary, and it didn't work out. So I knew that it shows proof in this that, hey, I've tried a business before with somebody, so it ain't me. I'm a freaking badass business owner. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Ain't me. And ain't nobody else. It's a mix that you got to combine.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like, if you
Yes.
find that person to really prosper within a business, you will freaking succeed. So how I met Andrew, Andrew, why don't you tell the story?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I was going to say the only way that you guys anyone out there can fix that problem is to go out there and do the uncomfortable thing, which is meet strangers.
Mm.
Go and join groups, networking groups. Go and show your face. Tell people what you want to do. If you're not doing anything, you want to do something. Talk about that. Talk about what you want to do.
Dating, dog.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's playing each other a little bit.
Hmm.
But in the end, when I joined, a networking group that Mike and I happened to be in together. When I first joined, I was reached out to by a local contact, and she was sort of a local leader. And she was very direct and said, what are you trying to get out of this networking? Joining this networking group, because there was a pretty considerable cost associated with that. And I said, look, I am here because I have joined these sort of things before. I have spent a ton of money trying to start businesses, and it's always been something that's been missing. I know that I want to do this. I know what I have to offer. Right. I have a technology background. I'm a product manager at a financial technology company right now. I understand business, I understand systems, I understand scaling, right? But what I'm not very good at is, actually going out there and making those calls and getting in those uncomfortable conversations. I know I can fill a role. I need someone who can complement that. And she immediately was like, Mike's your guy. You got to go and meet Mike. He is, everything that basically you're not. And I was like, that sounds amazing. So we ended up meeting up for coffee off the back of that. So he gave me his number. And again, like, I don't know Mike, right? Out of the blue, I said, hey, Mike, can we go out for a cup of coffee? Let's go meet up at a place down the road from my house. Mike doesn't know me. Mike responded and said, yes, right? There is an aspect, you got to kind of leap, in order to figure out if this works. Now, we may not have liked each other, right? We could have gone nowhere. That's okay. But when we met up, it went really well. I mean, we aligned on a lot of the vision. We all saw the opportunity. We both saw the same opportunity. I could see in him. I think it was the very first day I was telling you, I'm like, oh my God, you'd be great on YouTube. You got the face for it. You got the personality for this. Like, you're the front man, 100%. Like, that's you, right?
No,
and I could just tell right away.
And what happened is, in that coffee meeting, Andrew was talking about all this stuff, like how he can generate leads and how he can do all these things, and like not even just that, but more of some stuff in the future that like I wasn't even thinking about. And I was like, dang, you could implement something like this? I'm like, nah, you got to get on the team, bro. And literally like 4 days later, we ended up having pretty much doing business together.
Yeah.
So let's think about this. How did that happen? I want to go into that. How did that happen? One, Andrew's a badass and was taking action, right? And was getting himself out there and was like, hey, he was networking. That's it. It happened from Andrew networking. But it also happened from myself, and not to pump myself up, but myself pumping value out to the marketplace, and the marketplace recognizing that I had value to give to somebody. Yes. So I say that because a lot of people will come to me and they'll be like, dude, Mike, how did you find a business partner? Like, I need an integrator. Like, I'm over here running my circles, and I freaking get it. I was in this business for like a year straight, running my freaking tires like this, like pretty much just breaking even every single month. I was doing deals. I just didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was running around like with a chicken with my head cut off because I didn't have somebody like Andrew to like point me in the right directions. Okay. So that's why it's so important. But what I did is I just got out everywhere. I was in every single freaking Zoom. I was networking with everybody. I was pumping out value. I was making sure people knew that I knew my shit and that I could do this business. And then once an opportunity came from like Andrew, because think about it, the person that referred Andrew to me would not have connected us if she didn't. If she wouldn't have been like, hey, I'm not going to tell Andrew to go meet some bonehead that isn't going to make sense.
That's exactly it. Because I made it clear. I'm like, I want to get going with with somebody who's taking this serious today, and you are the only name. You are the obvious choice. And like, that's the advice I give everyone. Be the obvious choice. It's an easy thing to do if you put 100%. In the effort.
Yeah, I love it. So same thing when you guys are going out to these events and everything like that. It's not even just a business partner. It's like JV partners. You know what I'm saying? It's like marketers and everything. You got to catch these people's attention by giving out value rather than just going out on Facebook and saying, hey, I need a business partner. I need an integrator partner. Who's an integrator partner? And you don't get any likes or comments on the Facebook post. You know what I'm saying? They're like, wait, who is this guy?
Yep.
So you got to go get out in the face and really, really catch people's attention and bring value. Once you bring that value that comes out, it comes back. I wasn't even pumping out to anybody. Hey, I need a business partner. I need a business partner. I need a business partner. It just came. So it's like you put that value into the universe. I know I needed one, right? And I was just going in the wrong directions. So that's what's super important. And to people that are like, I have been doing this business by myself and I've been struggling, I would say, rather than pumping all your time and energy into your business like you have been, which is good, you should be doing that, I would say take some of that time and energy and pump it out to the marketplace. And what I mean by marketplace, I mean like your industry. Pump it out into your industry, and that's going to come back. Same thing if you're an integrator, right? Maybe you're an integrator and you're generating leads, right? And you're just not converting for some reason. And you're like, dang, I need a closer. I need somebody to go in and close deals for me. Get out there, like pump value to the marketplace. What's going to happen is let's just say there's a visionary out there that's hanging out on Zooms and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you put in a chat that you can do this, that, and the other, or you have a KPI tracker or something like that. And then you guys all of a sudden connect and now you have a business partner, you know what I mean? Because that integrator pumped out value. So it's like pump out the value and you're going to receive it. And then all of a sudden you guys make it happen. Now let's talk about, that's how you find the partner. Okay. Now let's talk about what you do once you're in the partnership. There's a little phase, okay? In the beginning, there's like a 6-month phase I would recommend. And every situation is different. But I would recommend like a 6-month phase of what we call a dating phase. Of like seeing, is this going to make sense? And me and Andrew did that. What me and Andrew did is we're just like, hey, why don't we get some VAs together? Why don't we pull some lists and do all these stuffs together? Any deals that come from this, we'll just split it half and half. And then if we like each other in the next 6 months, we'll go get an LLC and we'll start freaking rocking and rolling. So what did? We ended up just taking our personal cash, put it in a Cash App account. So Cash App gives you like a card, right? That you can use for your batch dialer and you can use for lists and you can use to pay VAs and stuff like that. So we just funded a Cash App account for like 6 months. And once we had a deal and once we were like, dang, this is really dope. Like we have something going here. That's when we started to take it serious. And we're just like, all right, cool. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually, I forgot all about Cash App. That was actually a really interesting way to kind of get around that problem at the beginning, which is, you want to go in equally together. You want to have a bank account basically, right? Cash App kind of hacks your way to that pretty quick. And on the topic of the dating phase, I mean, it's really important because it's just like actual dating. I mean, there's a lust period, right? I don't want to call it lust. I mean, you're a handsome guy, but when it all comes down to it, like there's a period where you're.
Did you guys see the thumbnail to this thing, yo?
Oh my God.
Boy, it looked like somebody plopped this picture down from the heavens. Like, go check the thumbnail after you guys watch this and look at Andrew's picture. You're gonna be like, dang,
yeah, it's catfishing.
Really good looking girlfriend.
Oh my gosh. No, I mean, you gotta go through that awkward phase. Like you're gonna be enamored with what you have. Like you're gonna be obsessed with, oh, this is gonna go so far. I'll be honest, you gotta have some bad shit happen. Like something has to go wrong because that is more important. The way that you tolerate when things go wrong is way more important than the way you celebrate when things go right.
That's so good.
Like you gotta understand that, especially from the integrator point of view, right? I'm rescinding all deal and basically, gambling more or less to Mike. Yeah. If he makes a mistake, I have to be able to forgive it immediately. Like right away, it's gone. Right. Because I can't, are you kidding? Like I can't get in his way. You don't want to implant a mental parasite into your partner, right? Make him paranoid. That is the worst thing that you could possibly do. So you got it. Forgiveness is one of the most important attributes of one of these partnerships. Is you have to. Same with him. To me, I mean, I might forget to do something. It's happened many times. Or I could forget to turn a list off, and we end up overspending by mistake. I could pull something that's too big, and we drop $1,000 we didn't mean to. Now, there are a million mistakes I can make that are very costly as well. You have to have a risk tolerance. Over that dating phase, you figure out if your risk tolerance is around the same. And it shouldn't, in some sense, you shouldn't have the exact same risk tolerance. You should have the exact same, maybe risk tolerance is the wrong way of saying. I think we're pretty equal in that. I'm more apprehensive. So
I would say the same type of goals.
Yes. Yeah, that's very important. Absolutely.
Because that kind of comes along with risk tolerance a little bit. But to your point, right? Like if it was not for Andrew, we would be spending all of our money ASAP. And I would be like, yeah, we're buying this, that, and the other. We're getting the big ass freaking office. We're doing this, we're doing that. Andrew's like, yo, pump the brakes, bro. We need to fund a couple deals and do all these things, right? We got to make sure that we got money in the account for the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
So you need that. That's part of the complementing
Yeah.
in a partnership, 100%.
And you have to be able to have those conversations openly and without malice. Like you have to be able to put emotion aside. It will be emotional, but you have to be able to reconcile it when it's happening and put it aside and make the rational choice collectively. Because where I might be apprehensive and he might be a bit more bullish, this is where we should meet. It shouldn't be all the way down. It shouldn't be all the way up. It's you come to the middle. That's the beauty of it. And I will tell you, without Mike, I wouldn't have deals because I would have been too much of a pussy, frankly. You know, I mean, when it all came down to it, this, he comes in and goes, no, it's going to be fine. Why? Because we're going to make it fine. We're the kind of people who figure out problems. We're going to sign this up and we're going to go ahead. And, we just had one of those conversations the other day. I wanted to play it safe a little bit. And he's like, no, we got to go ahead and we got to bet on ourselves and we got to kind of trudge forward, no matter what. And that's what we're doing. No need to elaborate on it, but it's, it's all related to something more coming up. Yeah, you did. We had a bunch of conversation. Then we had another one after.
I freaking love it. Yeah, dude. So the dating phase is important. In that dating phase, everything that Andrew just said is what you guys want to kind of test out. I think one of the biggest things, though, is the complementary things. Yes. I think the reason why I think about it is because the other partnerships that I've been in before, they were not complementary. We were the same person. And it's fine. Like, I'm still homies with anybody I've ever done business with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no feelings hurt. But complimenting each other is definitely one thing. But then the goals is another thing.
Yeah.
Because you could have somebody that wants to take over the world, right? And wants to make $1 million a month. And then you could have somebody else who only wants to make, who is cool with making 20 grand a month. Yeah. And to Andrew's point, they're not going to end up having the same type of risk tolerance. Yeah. Because the person that wants to make $1 million a month is like, no. We're going full-fledged. So the conversation that Andrew was just talking about, how I closed Andrew on like spending some money on some things that I thought that we needed to spend money on. We came to an agreement on it, not because I closed it. I'm just joking. It was because,
in a sense, right?
Kind of. It was because we both align on goals. Mm-hmm. That's how I closed Andrew. I'm like, yo, hold on. We both have the same goals, bro. We're both trying to get to the same freaking point. And this is what's going to make it happen.
Yep.
And boom, you guys should use that on the next close, on your next seller call. That's a good close, bro. Listen. You're talking to a prospect and you're like, hey, literally, let's think about this. Mm-hmm. We're both trying to accomplish the same exact thing here. So let's get this thing done. Sign right here and here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sean Gavin asked, does Andy do the disposition side of the business? So, Sean, here's what we do. Me and Andrew run a direct-to-seller operation, so direct-to-seller marketing. We go directly to a seller. We ask them if they would ever sell their property. Somebody says yes, and then finally we bring them through our sales process. And if you haven't watched my 8-step sales process, you can go to my YouTube channel and check it out. But we bring them through that sales process, get somebody under contract. And then once we have them under contract, we're out of the deal. Mm-hmm. We don't go and find buyers or anything like that. We do a couple different things. Just because I know a decent amount of people in my area, I already know some buyers. So we'll send it to the local buyers if it's a local deal. So that's the first thing. But then the second thing is we'll just send it off to a dispositions company, somebody who already has a really big buyers list, and we split the deal with them because we would rather have a piece of the watermelon than the whole grape.
Yep.
That way we're sticking to doing our job. So this is just, in my opinion, if you're gonna run a wholesale business with acquisitions and dispositions, I highly suggest you treating it like two completely separate businesses, because we actually tried running a dispo department and it just didn't work out. Got to the point where we were just like, here's what happened. We tried doing that dispo department and then our acquisitions started slowing up. And we're like, all right, screw this. Let's just stick to the acquisition, stick to what we're good at. Yep. So every department in your company, I would treat like a complete different business. So we're just like, you know what? We're freaking badass lead generators and closers. So let's just stick to our bread and butter, create these contracts and then send them out.
Yeah, that was a decision that we had to make, over a couple of months in a pretty rough way. I mean, we had to kind of reckon that going back to I saw sickness, Mike did too, right? Because we had a bit of an issue for a couple, obviously for several weeks, and it all came back to we're spreading ourselves too thin. So what do we do now? Well, we have to come together, make a decision, change our tactics, inform the team, and move forward. And you got to be unemotional about it. That was a tough one because we really thought originally the model was you have to have dispositions. I mean, otherwise you're giving away so much of your pie. That makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
But what we came to realize was, well, if we can get 3 deals, at 50% versus 2 deals at 100%, I mean, we're at 150. And so it doesn't really, it makes sense. Yeah. So we're actually at more. We were better at scaling the acquisition side to overcome the difference than we were at going ahead and bringing in somebody to run that department or trying to actually just build it organically in-house. And we're actually really lucky in the sense that Mike really has a presence online now. He has the trust of a lot of folks in our local community. So he's able to do a lot of the disposition stuff just as a matter of course while he's networking in general anyway. And I would say one of the things that he brings to the table that has been so invaluable, I think that's the right way to say it, is, his networking. I mean, he is incredibly, incredibly good at it. The reason why we have, a good number of folks in the area who can help us with our flips is because of his networking. The reason why we have folks who are willing to lend to us is because of his networking. The reason why we're able to go ahead and list things with real estate agents is because of his networking. So folks, if you're trying to find a place for you to fit the business and maybe you're not the integrating side of things and you don't know if you're a visionary yet, network like crazy because, Mike brings so much to the table and his ability to bring hearts and minds to the table is huge. And it's been
Here's the thing. I would never have the time to do that if I didn't have you implementing everything.
Thank you. That's what I hope to do for you.
Yeah. I tried doing that, right? This is what was happening. I was trying to do this business on my own, and I was trying to do literally everything. I was trying to follow up with leads, go on appointments, close leads. Then once I closed them, I was trying to dispo them myself, and it just didn't make any sense. Nobody even knew who the heck I was. Okay, and then all of a sudden I got a business partner. Now I'm able to go on Zooms with people. I'm able to do things like this, be on YouTube and stuff like that. And it's like I would have never had the time to do that if I did not have a business partner. I still would have been spinning my wheels. Mm-hmm. If I would still even be in the freaking business. Who knows?
You would have figured it out.
I love it. So once you have those aligned, you complement each other, you have your goals aligned together. Now, I think we kind of go ahead.
Can I say one more thing on the topic of goals? So to elaborate on something you were saying before, and this is actually a problem with the partnership that I had in the past. An easy way to figure out the amount of effort somebody's going to put in is to ask them, right? What do you see this as? Is this your way to sit around and do nothing? Is this your way to work a half an hour a day and do nothing? And what do you correlate from an income perspective with that? Are you looking to make $100,000 a month, or are you just really looking to make 10,000 gross a month and you're happy with that? If Mike and I are both looking at this going, no, man, I want to see all the fruits of life. I want to be a millionaire, as quickly as I can. Yesterday would have been nice. So there is a certain hedonistic approach to this. Like, this is a wealth pursuit, right? This is improve my life and improve the people around me. Give people opportunity around me that didn't have the opportunity before, because that's the funny thing about money. But that's not everyone's goals, right? Other people, they just want to quit the job they have now, and they want to be able to spend a good portion of the day relaxing, which I can relate to, but that's not the mode that I'm in my current life. That's not the way that I currently conduct it. I'm a hard worker, just like Mike. I mean, we work 7 days a week. I mean, we work on Saturdays, Sundays. We're constantly on the phone, sometimes late night, sometimes early mornings. We align from a work ethic point of view. That is just as important from a goals perspective. Like, where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? right? I would say that's the work ethic side of things. And what do you imagine it is when you get there? And that brings in the income. So and I think we have a very similar mindset. And, it's, in this near future, you will all see an evolution with that in mind.
It's true. We had a lot of those conversations in the beginning too.
Yeah.
Figuring out exactly why the hell do you want to do this business, bro? Like what gets you excited about this business? We had those type of conversations and they got deep. There was deep conversations. So
I think I cried once,
Did you cry? It was freaking great. So the third thing that I want to talk about is transparency.
Yes.
And that is being fully transparent with how you guys are feeling. I feel like we're having a freaking, like, this is a couples therapy or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, kind of, right? It's kind of nice. The couple is getting along. Yeah.
It's transparency, though. It's like being fully transparent. There has been times in previous partnerships that I had that I just let shit in. Like, there was something that I didn't like what was going on, but I just like kind of let it in and let it boil up. Then all of a sudden it came out at some point when it shouldn't have came out. It should have been deaded way before. You know what I mean? And it crippled us. It crippled our business, like, because of the time that I allowed myself to not say nothing. So now what we have done a really good job of, both of us, is like when something comes up and we're feeling like the business should be going one way or the other or something like that, and we're just like, hey, we got to get something off our chest. We just get it off our chest. We're just like, hey, no hard feelings, but this is how I feel.
Yeah, and it could be something as silly as like, bro, why did you talk to me like that? Oh man, fuck, dude, I'm having a bad day. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't even realize I was talking to you like that. Like, if you get personally offended, that shit builds up, right? This is
100%.
Yeah, you gotta release it.
We had a conversation one time.
Yeah.
Like, I said something that came off super, super freaking selfish, and I didn't mean for it to come off that selfish. I'll never forget the day. And I felt so bad after we hung up the phone, and I was like, holy crap, I got to fix this. And then I think I called you, or you called me after that.
Something, yeah.
And you were like, dang, yeah, I did kind of feel that way. And I was like, dude, I promise I did not mean it like that. Like, that's not what I meant. And then we just deaded it right there, and it was cool. So, like, same thing as you would do in a relationship. If you have a husband or a wife or whatever the case is, it's like, it's the same thing. A thing that makes a great marriage or relationship, like, is what builds a business.
Yeah, it's the C word, communication. Sorry, I wasn't going to say anything else.
Yeah, that could be number 4. It's kind of along the lines of the same thing, transparency.
Yeah, that's and it's other things like, one thing that I'll tend to do, and I've been doing in this conversation even, I talk fast. And sometimes I just keep going and going to the point where it's a rant. That's not productive. Mike needs to be able to step in and go, yo, shut up. Like, this makes no sense. We're completely off topic. Like, you have to be, you have to be economical with your time, and you have to be unoffended when you're intervened with. I'll be talking about stuff that's going to happen in 5 years, and Mike's like, bro, I'm trying to figure out what's happening fucking next week. Like, let's slow down for a second. Let's go ahead and think about, how do we fix our leads problem, or how do we go ahead and, chase after a new landlord list, or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. So you got to be dreamers, but at the same time, you got to be realistic, and you have to be willing to pull each other back to ground every once in a while.
100%. Yeah. What would you give for advice if there's somebody right now in your shoes? Like, why don't you talk a little bit about, and you don't have to go into the weeds, but
sure,
about the business relationship that you have with the previous business owner when you try to do wholesaling, and then give some advice on, if somebody was in that position, like, what they should do to get out of it.
It is, I guess I would start by saying it is better to find a best friend in a business partnership than to take a best friend and start a business partnership, right? It is much easier the other way around. It's less offensive. Everything is aligned. You understand each other, much more intimately. When you take a best friend into a business partnership, money can become poison. unfortunately. And it's a natural thing. I mean, it is the sustenance of capitalistic life. So sometimes folks they change a little bit when you get into that sort of scenario. Now, what I have really enjoyed working with Mike is when we first met, I knew that I could get along with this guy, but as time has gone on, I've learned that he's made me better. He's made me more accountable of myself. He's made me more ruthless in the sense of, I appreciate that, man. Absolutely. You got you, David. To be honest with you, Mike, I've wandered off topic. What did you originally ask?
So you had a partnership before. You were trying to wholesale before with a partner. It didn't work out because there's just I don't want to say that he wasn't a visionary or something like that. It was a visionary that wasn't aligned with the correct integrator.
I would venture to say he was actually more like, the marketing partner we were talking about a little bit earlier, where they are somebody who is probably both, right? And doesn't want to cede one side or the other, right? If you're going to enter a partnership, one important thing is establishing roles and then understanding that those roles dictate certain things. Like, for example, when it comes to contracts, I don't question Mike on what he is doing. I will only try to pick at it, but it's never to say don't, unless it's a very obvious one. It's to make sure that he is thinking about it, in as intense a way as he can. Or maybe intense is the wrong word. I'm not there to stop him from doing anything. I'm only there to help him check himself. And it goes the other way around. So when it comes to, onboarding a new system, like we changed over CRMs 2 to 3 months ago, that was a hell of a task. I mean, we did a system migration as an 8-person company with no support staff. It was just all of the people who were operating in one system before had to migrate over to the other one, learn how to do it, and then keep up with everything that they were, doing on the day-to-day at the same time. So that was he had to really trust me to go ahead and make sure that actually went well. And it did, fortunately. But that was, I'm sure, at points trying for him as well. You have to be able to relinquish control of certain things, but also be willing to be questioned. That's, I think, a very important part. But in the end, the decision lies to the person who's responsible for it. And that's, I think, where the failure of a lot of partnerships is that you can't do everything. And if you can't do everything, it's not your choice sometimes to do it. So you got to relinquish.
There's probably somebody that's watching right now. There's probably somebody that may have been in a partnership or something like that, and it didn't work out. Or maybe they're in a partnership right now and they're like, dang, I don't even know if this is going to work out or not. What advice would you give to that person? Because I think you were in that position for a little bit longer than you probably wanted to be. And then all of a sudden it just stopped like abruptly when it probably shouldn't have stopped that way. It probably should have just been like, oh yeah, we're just probably not a good fit. If they followed like the dating phase, if you guys followed the dating phase correctly.
Yeah, I would say one lesson I learned there was I learned who I was. And I didn't know that going into the partnership, right? I didn't reflect on what do I enjoy about business? What do I want to be? I mean, a lot of us are stuck in jobs, right? I know a lot of folks out there do kind of forge their own way. They do go and start small businesses and such, but the greater majority work a job, right? And it's very common to think, well, what I'm good at is what I do now. Really? Are you sure? Or did you just end up there? Because in my case, it's kind of funny is, Mike does all the sales calls, but in my day-to-day job, I'm a sales guy. I go and I do, 2, 3, 4, 8-hour meetings. I speak at conferences. I'm somebody who, is involved in every single one of the sales of the product at my company. But notice that I'm not doing that here because I found that, while I can do that and while I am very good at that, I find more enjoyment and I find, more peace with the stuff that I do with us, with thinking about the whole problem and trying to kind of navigate that whole, you see my eyes just flared there. That's what excites me. Now, that doesn't mean conversely, rather, I don't mean that if you have a job and you're good at it, you shouldn't transfer those skills over here. You absolutely should. But just before you do that, reflect on who you are really, who you want to be really, and the life you actually want. Like, this is your opportunity to change it. Like, this
That's a
is,
fact, bro. It's like,
yeah.
so because here's what will happen. People will get into a partnership or they'll hear about stories about partnerships and they'll be like, yo, partnerships just don't work. Don't do that. Like you
Mm-hmm.
probably shouldn't do that. It's the same thing like hearing you freaking if you have a homie or one of your girlfriends that keep telling you, yeah, you should don't go with him. You know what I'm saying? Don't go with him. Don't
Yeah.
date him. You should just do your thing. You know how them guys be. It's the same thing, yo. Like,
Yep.
yeah, well, why are there marriages that are really, really dope? And why are there businesses that really prosper with two business owners being business partners or even more?
Mm-hmm.
Some businesses have a bunch of different partners, right? Like how do those work? So yes, partnerships are essential. So don't let anybody tell you that you should not be doing partnerships. You should be doing partnerships. It's like it actually kind of is essential if you really want to get to a scaled level. Now, some people are just like, no, I
Yep.
don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
I know people that crush it, that make like millions of dollars a year that don't have partnerships. But if they brought in a partner, they would skyrocket, but that's not what they want to do. And that's
Yep.
completely so let me take it back. It's not essential, but it's essential if you really want to take something to the moon. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't want to say this. What I was gonna say is like in my mind, what's a life fulfilled without having having a wife and kids and all that type of stuff. Just in my mind, I'm like, that's what life's supposed to look like, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Don't shoot me down for this. Don't cancel me for this. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But just that's just in my mind, like that's what you want. Same thing with a business partner.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. Don't let anyone influence what you want. Reflect. Some folks, try meditation. If you're not sure who you are and what you want, spend some time sitting in silence. Sit there and let your thoughts wander. Address them when they come up. Maybe you're an anxious person, right? Figure out what you're anxious about. Could be your job. Could be certain aspects of the things that you do now that you don't want to perpetuate in a new life as you move forward. It's again, like this is your opportunity for rebirth, especially if you're trying like me. I'm looking at this as my way of creating a passive income stream that could, longer term, potentially allow me an option to do what I want.
I
Right?
really like that. So you're
Yeah.
pretty much saying like, yo, look at yourself before you look at anything else, like why
Yes.
partnerships don't work. Because a lot of people
Yes.
get out of a partnership and just be like, dang, that partnership did not work. Partnerships suck. I'm never doing a partnership. That's not the case. It's probably something in you that you haven't
Yeah.
figured out. Not that
Yeah.
you were the one that messed up the partnership, but there's something that you can think about like, oh, if I had a partnership that maybe complemented all my skills, that would make me feel better in a partnership. And then the partnership would go good and we would make a bunch of money together and it'd be dope.
Yeah.
So look within and then you'll figure out exactly what you need out of a partnership. And that's what I did. I literally did that. I had to look into myself and be like, dang, who is Mike? What does he do in a business? What makes the most sense in a business for Mike? What gets
Hmm.
Mike jacked up in the morning? Like this morning, I was on a call with the sales team and I was jacked up. Like shit, it got my day cranking. We did a role play. It was freaking great. That's the shit that I like. I like going on appointments and freaking crushing it and doing all that stuff. So I need somebody that would rather not do that stuff and do all the other
Yeah.
stuff in the business that makes more sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it allows me to just crush freaking life. Anything else that you want to touch on about partnerships?
Don't give up if you've had a failed one. It just
Mm.
means it didn't work. That's it. Things don't work all the time, right? Most things don't work, right? And that's just kind of the nature of life, right? Success is in the persistence. Success is not luck. Like as much as people like to say, "I got lucky," maybe, or you were persistent, or
Hmm.
that when you failed, you said failure is a part of success, and I'm just going to proceed forward. You know,
Hmm.
it's let yourself forgive. That's actually forgive yourself is probably a better way to say this.
Yeah,
For
if you're like if you're in the thought process right now that partnerships don't work because you're in a partnership that isn't working right now, don't take my advice of just saying screw it. Like, don't just say screw it. Try to make it work out because
Yeah,
maybe
of
it is
course.
just some BS. Because in the beginning, Andrew and we had things that came up in the beginning,
Yeah.
right? Like we weren't crushing it right out the gate. You don't just crush it right out the gate. So pull back the curtains. Don't quit right away. Just make sure that all these things are aligned that we talked about. There's like 4
Hmm.
different topics that we aligned. What was it? There was to sum everything up. If you guys are aligned on all these 4, then you should be good. The first thing is, do you guys complement each other? Okay.
Hmm.
The second thing, are you guys willing to be um are you guys willing to be transparent with each other? Third thing, do you guys communicate well? Okay, those are kind of 2 of the same things. The last thing is, do you guys have goals that are aligned?
Yep.
If you guys can align on all those 4 and it's just not working, you guys have been in partnerships for like, you guys have been a partner for maybe 3 months and you're like, "Damn, we haven't gotten any contracts." Don't quit.
Yeah.
Just pull back the curtains and see why. Because there's always reasons why, right? Like
Yeah.
me and Andrew literally have the blueprint to why. Like tip for tip, we could go in any direct to seller business right now because we took the time and energy to go through all the BS in the beginning.
Yep.
We literally have the blueprint to how this shit works. And we could look at somebody's business and diagnose it and be like, "Dang, you guys are not doing this. This is why you're not
Hmm.
getting deals." It's not
Hmm.
because your business, your partnership sucks. It's because of this, that, and the other. You need to go fix your dialer. You need to go have these types of conversations. You need to, get your team jacked up, or you need to do this, that, and the other. Like we've been through it all. But there was a time in the beginning where we weren't getting contracts. Like we weren't doing deals in the beginning. And we had to go through that phase and learn through that phase so that we can understand exactly what needs to be done in this business to get it done, so that when shit comes up and maybe we
Hmm.
have a slow month on leads or a slow month on contracts, we can pull back the curtains and figure out, oh dang, we should have known this. It's just that. Let's tweak it, and then we crush it the next month.
Yeah. I would say, just to add to that, and I think I've shown you this video before. If you guys haven't seen it, go look it up on YouTube. Steve Harvey. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, growth and success is an uncomfortable endeavor, right? It is stressful. It is, emotional pain is in some cases kind of physical, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's why you say my heart aches. That's why you say, I got a feeling in my gut, right? Like, there is, you will have that sort of feeling. Like, that's natural. You're not going crazy. Like, you are fighting, what you have previously thought to be logical in pursuit of something that you thought was unreachable.
Mhm.
So you are going to be uncomfortable. So be comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you can get over that, and you can find the right partner who complements your skill set, and you can put yourselves on the path towards, unified goals, and you put together a plan and you execute that plan and you hold each other accountable and you communicate well, it will happen. It might not take, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, but good people, strong values with a plan, you can make it happen.
Let's go. Andrew, I appreciate you coming on here, dog.
Anytime.
I mean, Daryl. This is Daryl, by the way. Daryl got
Yeah.
a costume. We've been bullshitting you guys the whole entire time. Daryl got a costume. Changed his name to Andy. Now Daryl's out crushing life.
I was gonna say.
We'll be back next week. We have my guy, Alejandro Alvarez, coming on here. Alejandro's a freaking savage. So next week we'll be back Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you guys come back for that episode. It's going to be fire. We're talking about time versus money on that episode. So if this has brought y'all any value, please like this video, subscribe to both me and Daryl's channel. We are out.